Welcome to Hermit Woods, where there's a story in every bottle. This is Bob again from Hermit Woods Winery, and I'm coming to you live on Facebook with Dave and Bruce, the owners of our new brewery, Twin Barns Brewery in Meredith. And I'm really excited to have them with us here today. They've been just less than a year now in town, and I hope many of you have already had a chance to get in and try some of their beers and their food. But if you haven't, this will be a great chance to find out a little bit about what they have to offer and learn a little bit about the founding partners. So again, with me is Bruce and Dave, and we met these folks early on in their project as they were building out the project, and were really inspired by the attention to detail and all the great work that they put into making that building what it is today. It's really come a long way from what it was as, I think, the motorcycle museum before you guys got your hands on it. So kudos to you, great job. Dave comes to us with, he's got an undergraduate degree from mechanical engineering from Worcester Polytechnic Institute and an MBA from the Carnegie Mellon University. And Dave got some early restaurant experience while he was going through school. He was assistant manager at a local restaurant. And in 2001, he joined an internet startup and became a managing partner, and spent then 16 years working in the food and beverage industry, managing a large staff and P&L responsibilities. Most importantly, though, Dave has been a home brewer for 25 years, and I think that's really what matters now. And Bruce has a degree in electrical engineering from Bucknell University and an MBA from the Wharton School and University of Pennsylvania. Bruce has participated in early stages of 4 different companies, the first 3 of which were successfully sold to larger organizations, and he currently works with the 4th. He spent decades advising companies on the manufacturing and distribution of consumer and retail products, plus the procurement of goods and services. He has managed both large and small organizations throughout his career and is looking forward to applying that experience to managing the Twin Barns Brewing. Also very important, Bruce has been brewing beer since 1994. So again, 25 years. Here's that. So welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for agreeing to talk with me today.
Sure.
It's great. So I'm going to just start right out and ask the basics. If the two of you maybe could give us a little background. Where'd you grow up, and you know, how'd you kind of get to be where you are today? Just a sort of a rough timeline, and go back as far as you want, or whatever you want to share.
Sure. Bruce, I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. So I was actually I grew up in that Lawrence Methuen area, right in the line there between Salem and between New Hampshire and Massachusetts. I went to high school at Methuen High, and had, like you said, went to WPI and became an engineer, not for very long, but was an engineer for a little while. But really what got me up to the Lakes region, back in 2000, my wife and I bought a little cabin on Paugus Bay. And essentially every single weekend of almost the whole year, we'd spend our time at that cabin, and just really fell in love with the area, the location. It was just idyllic. We used to have this running joke that as we crossed the Massachusetts-New Hampshire line, all the stress would go away, and we'd be able to spend the weekends up at that camp. And then about 10 years ago, we sold that place, and we bought a little house in Moulton Borough on the east side of the lake. And like you said, never really looked back. This is the dream location for me.
Great. Well, what's not to love, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and for me, Bob, also grew up in Massachusetts, so a town called Needham, which is just west of Boston. Went to Needham High, also public school guy. And my connection to the Lakes region really came from my much younger years. So I went to camp over in Wolfboro. So I don't know if you've heard of it. There's a YMCA camp over there, Camp Belknap. So between ages of about 8 to 15, I went to camp there and really, established a love for the region, and have been up there almost every summer since. My sister lives about a half an hour away from the brewery, so I'm there many a night when I'm not crashing at Dave's as well. So Massachusetts guy, but a great love for New Hampshire. And I'm actually on the Zoom now from my place over in Vermont. So I've been zooming back and forth between the states, sharing time up north here in northern New England. Love it. So, and looking to ultimately establish roots over toward the Lakes region as well. Still trying to figure that one out.
Excellent. So did either of you know when you were younger, in your early days, maybe in college, did you know back then that you someday wanted to own a brewery?
I probably wouldn't go quite that far, but we have this running story with Bruce and I. Back in the 90s, we both actually started at the same company. And we were this is the first renaissance of craft beer when, Sam Adams was like the big entry into craft beer. And we really enjoyed craft beer. And when we would travel around the country working, we would always say, okay, we're in Milwaukee. Where are the craft beer places? And we kind of did that routine. We even we wrote up a business plan back in 1996, I think it was.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, to start up a brewery in Franklin, Massachusetts.
Ah.
And as I always say, the joke is then we did something kind of funny. We got married, had children, and had to kind of shelf the plan.
It was actually a bit ahead of its time. I'm not sure what they would have made of it.
Yeah.
Right? But it's pretty funny. We actually used some of the basis of that plan when we were figuring out how to, start up Twin Barns. So right down to some of the spreadsheets, the cost spreadsheets and such. So, I mean, I'd agree with Dave. I'm not sure. I always wanted to say start a brewery until recent years, but I knew, and I think it's the same for Dave, that working for yourself and for a small company is just that much more fun. And what better industry than beer, and in your case, wine, Bob. So I think we always knew we wanted to do something small and something together. And then over the years, we just started to zero in on the brewery because we're a bit beer obsessed as well, and that helps, right?
Yes, indeed. So that brings me kind of to the next question. You've kind of already answered it, but I'll ask it anyway. You both have had what seems like very successful careers in other industries and have done well for yourselves, and you made the decision to sort of jump off the cliff and open a brewery. And having done a similar thing myself, I know what that means, and I know the demands of that. And was it a good decision? Are you happy about that? I mean, that was a big decision for you guys to leave. I assume. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I guess so. The short answer is yes, of course. We're really happy with the decision. We're having a blast, but we're also working our butts off, right? So it's a labor of love. So we'll be there at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and during the summer hours, we're not leaving until 11 at night. And time flies. So we're really enjoying it, and we're learning a ton too, because we came into this as business guys. So we knew a bit about operations. Dave was very heavy into, food and retail. So I think he knew the market probably better than I did. So we knew business, but we didn't necessarily know about running a brewery or a restaurant or renovating a barn or designing, a 10-barrel brew system and how the heck do you even get it into the barn, or some of the stuff that we're doing for the beer garden outside. So we're learning every day, and we're learning through mistakes as well, but having a blast. Now, Dave's largely retired as of, I guess it was maybe, I don't know, Dave, 2 years ago now?
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so 18. I'm still working, so I consult part-time right now during the week, still in supply chain and procurement and general management and some data analytics as well. So I'm sharing my time between clients and the brewery, which is why customers will see me much more on the weekend than during the week. So I, Bob, unfortunately haven't been able to make the total break yet from the folks at the brewery, the front of the house staff call it my big boy job. So I haven't made the entire break from the big boy job to the brewery, but hopefully soon that happens, within the next few years, I would think. But loving it. And sure Dave's got something to say as well.
No, I totally agree. I mean, honestly, it's the best job I've ever had. I mean, the days are long, there's no doubt about it, but it's great. You get to talk about beer all day.
Yep.
It's really a great job.
We're always joking too that the customers are always happy, right? So when one of the stories behind the founding of this is a brew tour that we did around New Hampshire that lasted about 3 days. And I won't tell you how many breweries we saw in those 3 days. But it became an exercise in sort of taking a look at what business models worked, what we liked about how they served, what we liked about their beer portfolio, their food, right down to their lighting, their seating arrangement, how it operated. And we gained a lot of ideas from that. But what we noticed was everybody was happy. And even when we got the wrong beer, we're like, that's okay. It's still beer. What are we going to do, complain? And then we contrasted that to our real world job where clients weren't always smiling, right? And it was a lot more demanding, just a different vibe. And we thought, what better job to have than one in which your customers are always smiling? And the worst decision they've made that day is they picked a dark beer instead of an IPA, and they decided they didn't like it, right? So it's just it's a blast. It really is.
That's great. I relate very well to all of that. I mean, I've never worked harder in my life than I have in the last 10 years, but I actually probably only work an hour or two a day. So, I consider those things that I wish somebody else was doing as the work. The rest of it is all a lot of fun.
Yeah, the other part of it is you really, and I'm sure it's the same for you, Bob, you have to be a jack of all trades, right?
Yeah.
So Dave and I are both MBAs, right? But mopping floors, painting the building, right? Helping Randy, our brewer, in the brewery. There's no job too small. Landscaping. Dave's out there pounding stakes into the ground to get the ropes ready for the beer garden, right? So it's, you do everything as an owner.
Absolutely.
And we're both happy as clams doing it, right?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And I have to say, one of my most favorite parts of my job, and I think it sounds like yours too, is the research. It's a lot of work, a lot of travel involved, a lot of driving, a lot of drinking, but important aspect of the job.
Somebody's got to do it, right?
Somebody's got to do it. And you got to,
yeah, we do a lot of R&D.
Doing it.
A lot of R&D.
So,
right.
So you ended up picking Meredith, and I know all of us here. I'm very happy about that, and I know a lot of folks that I know in town are very happy that you picked Meredith. Tell us about how you ended up landing here in Meredith. You could have gone anywhere.
Sure. We, during that tour that Bruce is talking about, we kind of, like I said, we went from the border of Massachusetts all the way up north into Littleton. And, and again, really kind of took a look at the map, and we said, well, where's there a big hole? Where doesn't one exist? You couple that with our love for this area, again, living in Laconia, knowing Meredith really well. I was the guy at Town Docks on the weekends eating a lot of ice cream. It was really, really a love. We really knew it. So, we contacted a local real estate agent, did the commercial tours, and it was Bruce who saw the vision of this place. We walked in, and everybody remembers the motorcycle museum, and I must admit, I was like, ooh, I don't know. And he really saw the vision of what this could become. And after seeing what was available and really talking it through, this all of a sudden became a no-brainer for us.
Yeah, and I think it was actually the first place we saw. It wasn't the only place we saw, but it was the first place we saw, and it took probably 3 visits before we really saw what was beneath, an interesting surface, we'll put it that way. Just had really great bones and 7 acres and all that parking, right? It just a beautiful level concrete floor in the basement, perfect for a brewery. I mean, all this stuff just started to come together. And the only thing I'd add too around the Meredith area is what's interesting is it was the biggest hole geographically for breweries, as Dave said, but it's also where all the people are on the west side of the lake, right? So Laconia and Meredith. And we looked at traffic patterns on 104 and 3. It was something like 20,000 cars a day in the summer. Yep. So it just, seemed to make sense, right? And we went.
Absolutely, yeah. I have to agree. And Ken and I have been scratching our heads for years, saying, "Why do we not have a brewery here?" And they were coming in closer. Wolfboro got one, and then Bristol got one, and Ashland got one. And why don't we have one in Meredith? So thank you for solving that problem.
No problem. We love it.
Happy to be here for you, Bob.
Awesome. Thank you. So tell us a little. So first of all, from the day you guys said, "All right, that's it, we're doing it. We're gonna make this happen," to the day you sold your first beer, how long a time was that?
Oof, good question.
I think it was about a year.
Yeah.
About a year. That brewery tour, Dave, it might have been in what, May or June or something of 18.
Yep.
I think we had a corporation formed within a couple weeks. We had an agent within a couple weeks. I think we closed on the place in October of 18.
Yep.
Construction starts in December, January. Brew system came in May. We're brewing by June. We're open by July. So
that's
basically a year. Yeah.
That's remarkable. And I remember
just that easy.
I know. I remember when you guys, when I've actually, Dave came in and we had seen evidence that this was going to be happening. And then we started to hear about the timelines, and Ken and I were both thinking, oh my God, knowing what some of the things we had to go through.
Yeah. And
then I remember talking to you, Dave, the first time you came in and thinking, wow, you are ambitious.
Definitely one. I would say it was, we definitely had a plan. I'm not sure it always went according to the plan, but we had a plan.
Yeah, I think our GC thought we were somewhat ambitious as well.
Well, you did it. You did it.
Yeah.
That's what's important. So you took an old. I think that barn was just a 3-season shell, more or less, when you guys picked it up, and you did an amazing job transforming it into a pretty special place. What were the greatest challenges of turning that barn into a space that was usable like it is today?
So I think a couple of things. I got one funny story about it. So one of the contingencies we had with the barn when we bought it was we wanted to make sure from a structural standpoint the barn was going to fall down once we started pounding it with hammers. So we brought a structural engineer prior to the actual closing, and we walked through we must have been here 3 hours. We walked every square foot of the building into the attic and everything. And when we got down, the structural engineer said to us, hey, listen, I got to tell you, it's not in that bad a shape. He said that it'll need a little bit of work, but it's really not that bad. I'm like, okay, great. So we go through the process, we close. I call him the day after closing and said, okay, now I need you to do the structural plans for the construction. And he goes, oh my God, that needs so much structural work. And we were like, oh my God, no, we're the other guy. So yep. I would say that we probably underestimated, under-budgeted the structural work that needed to occur here. Was probably our biggest challenge in kind of moving this project along.
Yeah, it was, there's a lot of moving parts too, because as you said, Bob, it really was just a shell, right? So almost all new electrical, all new HVAC, it didn't exist. Plumbing, all new plumbing, a ton of septic and wastewater treatment work in the basement. Half the basement's concrete pad, the one I was mentioning before that was so beautiful and level, we had to tear up and relay. So a lot of moving parts. And then you add moving parts like liquor commission and town planning and health and human services, all of which, by the way, were great and worked very well with us, but just a lot of stuff that when we said, hey, it'd be fun to let's have a brewery so we can pull taps for ourselves on the weekends. We didn't see all the other tasks that came into it. But when I think of challenges too, I think about the fact that we had it's a large system. So it's about a 400 square foot footprint for a brew system that we had to get in that building. And we're also and brewing takes time. So a batch of beer could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, depending on what you're trying to brew. So we're trying to figure out how do we get a brew system in and get things brewed and kegged and ready to serve while we're building the place to get open so that we have beer when we open, right? So I mentioned before we had the brewery in May and we were brewing by June. Well, we didn't open until July, and construction was going on until the day before we opened. So we had a brewery operating in a construction zone surrounded by plastic on the second floor. So the big challenge was how the heck do you get beer out the door at the same time you're opening, and running through a construction project. So that was the big thing. I still remember impact hammers and metal saws and such running while our brewer, Sam, God bless him at the time, is down there trying to brew beer. And he's pulling his hair out because he literally can't hear anything because of the impact hammers and pneumatics. It was funny at the time. Maybe not. But yeah, we got through it. But that was a big challenge, is run a brewery in a construction site. Right.
Well, I can really appreciate that now. As you guys both know, we're redoing our third floor at the winery, and thank goodness we are closed. I was just there today packaging some wine and doing some work at the winery, and my head is still vibrating. There were so many saws and nail guns and banging, and and we thought we were going to be open during that. There's no way we could.
It's loud.
And the structural engineering side too. I mean, you guys, your building, compared to ours, we had a functional building, right? So we think, structural stuff, piece of cake. Half the work that's been done so far has been getting the structural stuff right. And it's amazing what's involved.
Yeah, that stuff Dave was talking about, it ended up being a bigger budgetary line item than the brewery itself. Is structural work. Yeah, that was not in the business plan, but like you said,
not something you can afford to skip on.
Absolutely.
Nope, you had to do it.
We kind of joke, God forbid, but if there's ever a tornado in Meredith, everybody come here because this building's going nowhere.
And you have beer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the ultimate preppers. We're ready.
So, is there anything about you? The place is more or less finished, I guess. I mean, you're still working on the outside, but would you have done anything differently now that you look back on it?
That's a good question. I think we would have probably made, and I think we would have probably made the kitchen, I think, a little bit bigger. Again, I think one of the things that we did, we thought, we were, like I said, we weren't really restaurateurs, and I don't think we really had a big desire to become a restaurant. Again, knowing today actually how important food is, I think I would go back now and make the kitchen a little bit bigger, a little bit more functional. Again, being able to offer probably a larger menu would probably be one of the big changes I would make.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed. And our license requires a full service kitchen as well.
Right.
And early on, we thought we were going to be a brewery. We are all about the beer, but we thought it was going to be much more about the beer. So, hey, we can get away with pretzels and small bites just to tide people over and keep them interested in the beer. Well, lo and behold, now we have a fairly extensive menu, and I got to tell you, it's probably one of the better things that we were, for lack of a better term, kind of forced into, because that's what's bringing a lot of people in. I'm not sure we would survive as well with just, say, the beer enthusiast that just wants to come for that flight and come once. We need to bring back the families that want to come for a dinner.
Yeah.
And the couple from Meredith that wants a different option on Saturday night to eat, and with a good beer alongside. So way bigger focus on food than we expected, but all good.
Yeah, that's good. And we found the same thing. We're right at this very moment expanding our kitchen, because we said when we opened up our deli, we said we're just going to do light cheese plates and small food items, keep it small, keep it simple. We wanted to get the license so we could serve your beer and serve our wine. Right. And but our customers told us something else. They wanted food. They wanted us to make food. So why not listen to your customers?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know you guys have both brewed beer for 25 years. I also know that you made the decision right off the bat to hire a brewer, and we can talk a little more about that. But are you guys involved in the day-to-day operation of brewing beer?
I would say, yeah. I think for sure on I'll call it the planning side. What kind of style do you want? What's the next beer coming up? That type of thing. Randy, who's an amazingly great brewer, we usually help him. We try not to get in his way. It's more the case. That's how we help him, is not getting in his way. But we lend a hand where we can. But he's so talented. It's funny too, because again, when we were kind of going down this path, and we were thinking, okay, are we going to brew? Are we going to? Really, what I've come to learn in this process, you can be a great home brewer, but a commercial brewer is a different occupation. It's like going from someone who likes to cook to being a chef. It really is it's an occupation that needs training in biology and physics and chemistry that obviously Bruce and I didn't have. And boiling 5 gallons of water and boiling 300 gallons of water is much, much different.
Right. So it's a different scale, Bob. But what we found is that a brewer is also a bit of an artist, and it's not just the process, but we discuss with Randy what our next beer style might be. Right. And he'll, you know, we'll discuss what kind of notes we might want or mouthfeel. And what he's really good at is translating the type of beer to a recipe, which is something we could never do. And he's good at taking a current recipe, tasting it over time and deciding, you know what, the next time I am going to tweak this. So we try to keep our core 6 beers consistent over time, but if we can improve them narrowly within the style, then we're going to do that. He's extremely good at saying, aha, what you guys are tasting is this, and here's exactly what I'm going to do about it next time. Almost all in his head, right? It's unreal. He's like a savant around this stuff, and that's what you need.
That's great. You guys must be feeling very fortunate to have found the right guy for that role. I'm sure that's not an easy task.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. So let's talk about the styles. I know a lot of breweries sort of try and shape themselves or build themselves as sort of being popularizing a certain style or a certain type of beer. Do you do that? Do you feel that way about yours? Do you have a certain style or?
Well, you know, I'll go, Bruce, and you add. You know, I think one of the things we wanted to do as we kind of going down this path, again, because Meredith didn't really have a brewery. We wanted to brew beers that have a wide range of tastes. So, like you said, one of the things that we've done is we've come up with 6 beers that are always going to be here. So if you're a porter person and you always want to come to get a porter, you can come to Twin Barns. So those are our first 6 taps. Our next 6 taps are indeed those taps where we like to experiment a little bit. You know, kind of change them up. Is it a seasonal beer? Is it whatever new sour is there, and do that type of thing. But always coming in that says, oh, I'd like to try something new. Okay, it's a sour. You know what? Didn't love that one. I'm going to go back to the stout or go back to the blonde ale. So we kind of try to do a little bit of both. There's no doubt about it. New England IPAs in New England are the #1 seller. There's no doubt about that. But we like to have that nice wide range of tastes.
Yep, exactly. And I think the challenge for Dave and I has been not assuming that our tastes really map against the general customer base, right? So I certainly I like sours, for instance. Dave doesn't like sours, but sours are very popular right now. So yeah, that's one area in which we had to let Randy go and do some very innovative stuff. So we've got a new sour out that's made of passion fruit, orange, and guava. So I'd say it's one of the more, say, unique beers that we've done, a little bit more out there for us, because you'll find even our 6 more experimental beers are pretty straight down the middle. So there'll be a Pilsner. We did an Imperial Stout. We've done some sours, but it's, you know, raspberry sour. But we haven't done, say, the coconut, red chili pepper porter with a twist of cinnamon. So we haven't done any of the stuff that's really out there. We try to stay very straight down the middle within the style, but as innovative as I think our customer base would be interested in, right? And we have a very broad customer base, so being too interesting by half may not always work for us. So we're trying to innovate without just going nuts, right?
Well, to your credit, I'm more in Dave's camp. I'm not a big fan of sours. However, recently, you know, I'm always willing and interested in trying different things, and so recently I've delved into some sours, and yours being one of them, and really enjoyed it. There's something there, and there's a place for it in the choice. You know, I think as I think about my beverage of choice as the afternoon comes on, I start thinking, what do I feel like? Well, the more I'm informed about what's going on in the world of beverages, the more my brain starts like, oh, I could really dial this in. What do I want today?
Exactly.
And there's starting to be room in there for a sour. I started to find a spot.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've always joked it's a bit of a gateway beer for us, right? So we get a lot of customers in that aren't beer people because they're along with friends or their significant other, and say, well, what do you have that's not beer? And we do have wines. We're thinking about bringing in cider as well soon. But sometimes we'll say, before you order the red wine, just try the sour. And I'd say majority of them will stick with that sour and say, that doesn't even taste like beer, because, you know, they're not terribly hoppy, right? They can be very refreshing, effervescent, you know, tart drinks without being beery, for lack of a better term. So it's been a real gateway for those that aren't beer types as they come in.
That's great. And I know you guys have been hounding us now for a couple of months because you have asked that we get our cider up to you. I'm really sorry we haven't done that. The reason we didn't do that, we actually were scheduled to can our cider on March 24th, and this crisis that we're in right now hit us on the 17th, and we shut down, and we could not justify the rather steep expense for not knowing when the cider is going to have a shorter shelf life than a lot of our other products. So not having a knowledge about when we were going to have a market for it, we postponed. We didn't cancel. We postponed the canning, and we're already in talks with Ironheart about hopefully sometime in June. We're in talks with the Liquor Commission. If the Liquor Commission would be willing to put it on the shelf with our other bottled cider, then that's all we're going to need. With you guys interested in carrying it and the commission willing to put it on the shelf, that'll be enough market. We'll schedule that truck, and we'll get you some cider.
I love it. Can't wait.
Yeah, me too. So, and you wait till you see the new can. We were really excited about the can design. I'll show it to you. I'll send you a picture.
Very cool.
That'd be great.
So what's your best-selling beer? I think I already know the answer.
This one. Drinking one right now. Yeah, so that's our Lake Cruiser double IPA. And I think it's been our #1 seller from day one, but we also have started, I think we started canning it, Dave, in what, December-ish?
Early January.
January. So especially now that we're canning it, it's going like hotcakes. So it's in some of the stores around the Lakes region and a couple of bars actually as well. So because of the canning now, it's light years ahead of some of the other brands. But I'd say generally the IPAs as a class of beer sell the best. But behind that Lake Cruiser, the Pilsner, there used to be actually a Sandbar Blonde. Our blonde beer was #2, which I think is probably unique to Meredith and the Lakes region. It's a very straight down the middle standard blonde ale, and now we've started and we can it as well. But we've got a Pilsner on tap. Again, very standard, nice, light, crisp, down the middle, summery beer that people are loving. So I think
great.
Up and comer as well, and that's in cans now too.
Great. I know. What's that?
The IPAs are sell.
And I must admit, I'm a sucker for a good double IPA, and that is often the go-to when I come in to visit you guys. Is their double IPA. I also got to credit you with a great job with that can design. If you hold that up again for everybody, it's a beautiful it's a beautiful can. I'll buy it just for the label.
Better looking than me. I'll put it there.
So nice job. And I think that goes through all of what you guys have done. The design of your building, the design of your logo, and you put some good thought into it, and it really shows in all that.
Yeah, we're trying to with the label, Dave and I went a lot of rounds on that with designers and such, and it's true with how we're treating the building and some of the graphics and such, is just keep it simple, right? So we're trying to showcase the beer and the brand and not get too, say, clever with some of the graphics and images. Sometimes cans nowadays are barely legible, right? So we're just trying to make it nice and crisp. It stands out on the shelf, and people can look at it and very quickly see what it is, turn it around, see what hops are in it, and they get it, right? So it's easy to buy.
That's important. There's a lot of competition for that shelf space, and a lot of competition for those eyes. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah, good, thanks.
So we started talking about this a little bit, and I know you guys offer food. You have a great menu, and it's sort of changed up a little bit over the seasons, as I've noticed. You've added some new stuff, and so tell me a little bit about how that's going. Where do you see that continuing to change, evolve, or have you sort of found your place, and that's where it's going to be?
Yeah, I think we've been, to your point, we've been evolving, what worked, what didn't work in that first summer kind of thing. I think also too, again, you talk about, challenges that we found, we kind of tripped across this. I think our first menu was a little bit too complicated, for the model. So we really tried to simplify the kitchen operation a lot more. But I think, one of the things that we really want to do philosophically is we want people to, walk out of here and be like, wow, that was a really good value meal. You know, that meal was really, really good, and it wasn't too expensive. And we're trying to get that nice balance between the two. But one of the things that we decided early on is we wanted to really kind of feature one thing on our menu. You know, be really good at everything, but have one thing that really stood out. And for us, it's the burger. So we went ahead and, you know, paid a little bit more, and it's a half a pound burger coming out of the Wine and Butcher down here in Meredith. So the grind is fresh. Put it on a nice brioche bun with some nice toppings, and cooked hopefully to your desired temperature. And, you know, really have people go like, wow, that was really good. We even went to feature it in the wintertime, you know, kind of for that burger and beer deal to really kind of get people kind of, you know, tasting it. And this summer, when we roll out the new menu, whenever things loosen up a little bit, you know, we're going to put a couple more different type of burgers, and then we've got one double decker that we think will be hopefully our big seller.
You know, this isn't fair. It's just right before dinner time, and you're sitting here describing this amazing burger.
You see. Yeah.
So, and I meant to ask this before, but is there a beer you haven't made yet that you're really excited about that's going to be coming out in the next few months?
Oh, well, yes, it's so haven't released yet, but are in the middle of making. Yeah, we have a couple of we had an Imperial Stout a few months back that was off the hook. It was great. It was smooth. It tasted wonderful. It was very high alcohol content. So Imperial is a term in beers that implies higher alcohol content. So it was 11%. People loved it. So what we've done is we side streamed or took 2 barrels worth, each about 50 gallons, into 2 wooden barrels. One is a bourbon maple barrel. So it's actually, we're the 3rd generation of that barrel. First it housed bourbon, then a maple company used the bourbon barrel to season their maple. Now we've got it, and actually arrived with probably about a gallon of maple still kind of around the side. So we took an Imperial Stout and now have it in a maple bourbon barrel. And then the other barrel is an apple brandy, kind of like a Calvados barrel from Tamworth Distilling right up the road.
Oh, so nice.
We'll release those in, I would guess, a couple of months. They've already been seasoning in the barrel, probably 2+. And the running joke with me and Dave is we taste it about every couple weeks or so. And, you know, Dave and I taste it like, it's great, let's release it, go. And Randy's like, stop it. It's not there yet. We just want to drink it. Because it's wonderful as it is, but it's probably going to be 2 more months. So that's, again, getting into those other 6 taps. That's something that's a little bit more innovative for us. So it's our first foray into barrel aging. It's going to be awesome.
That sounds exciting. In fact, it sounds like you have a barrel of each, right?
Correct. The 50 gallons.
Is there a list I can get on to make sure I'm in the front of that line?
Right up the road, Bob.
I know, but it's not going to last that long. And if I don't know when you release it, it could be trouble.
You know, the other beer too that we've got right now fermenting, because we had brewed it for Bike Week, is we actually brewed a light lager. So a corn-based light lager, you know, less calories, less alcohol. And we had actually brewed it. We were hoping to introduce it for Bike Week. So we'll release it some point in the summer. Again, with the postponement of Bike Week, we'll have it. The longer it sits, the clearer it gets, the more tasty it gets. And maybe release it in the last week of August as well. But it could be, I think that's going to be a very, you know, what the term everyone uses in the beer is a very crushable beer. You know, you better drink that very light.
Yeah.
That's great. That sounds perfect for this coming hot summer that we're going to have.
Exactly.
I wish it would get here soon.
Yeah, snow on Saturday was fun.
Oh God.
No, that hurt.
Yeah. So I also I noticed driving by that you have some work going on outside. It looks very exciting. I've seen some of your ideas and plans. So tell us about your outdoor area. I'm really excited by it.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, sure. So come June of this year, hopefully, grass permitting, a little bit of landscaping going on. We'll tell you about that. We're going to open a beer garden, which is about 3/4 of an acre worth of land. And it's really intended to be a very comfortable outdoor space where people will want to hopefully just spend a day enjoying, the space, activities, and our beer and food truck food in this case. So it's going to include an outdoor bar with 8 taps. So we'll have 8 of our beers on tap outside. Seats at the bar, probably, I think it's gonna be 10 or 12. We'll have picnic table seating for another probably 60 through right next to the bar and throughout. We're gonna have Adirondack chairs, barrels that you can stand at. Ultimately, when it gets cooler in the late summer, we'll have fire pits. We're gonna have games like cornhole, big Connect 4 and Jenga sets that you can putz around, out in the yard with. We're actually considering having a barbecue set up off close to the woods, so we'll do big barbecue events, maybe once a week, if at least once a month, if not once a week. And then for food, because it's a bit, people that know our property know that's a bit separated from the building. So it's a bit much to ask customers to walk about 75 yards to go get our food. We're actually going to have a rotating set of food trucks in there, 1 a day during the week, and then 2 each day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all rotating through. So any given Sunday, we'll have a different set of trucks than it had the previous Sunday. So we're experimenting with everything from grilled cheese to, seafood, Mexican sandwiches, stone pizza oven truck. So a little bit of everything. So more diverse set of food options for our customers as well. But we're just hoping, and the vast majority of it's going to be grass. So we're going to allow our customers, bring a picnic blanket and a picnic if you want. We've been to other places like this where I've seen families of 12 hold a birthday party. Bring your own food and set up, take over a couple of picnic tables, but enjoy yourself, have some of our beers as you enjoy time with your family and have a birthday party or just a picnic, right? So we're hoping it's a nice outdoor option for those nice, Meredith and Lakes region summer days.
That's fantastic. And that sounds really timely, especially given my next question is, I know as with us and everybody in the world, this pandemic has really rocked our world. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit about how it's affected your business thus far and some of the changes that you guys are putting into place to get open, and potentially maybe things you're thinking about maybe doing differently in the long haul. From learning from this experience. So, and I think the outdoor area is going to serve you very well in that. So how has this impacted you, and what are you doing about it?
I think like by all businesses, it's been challenging. Again, I say gallows humor joking that we didn't write the pandemic into the business plan. So part of the things that we had to do is pivot really quickly, like all businesses here in the Lakes region. So one of the things that we went to takeout, which again was new for us. We had never really done takeout before, online ordering, that type of thing, and really kind of, I would say, kept our nose above the waterline, as we say. We've sold a lot of beer to go, and really can't thank the local community enough for the support that they've given us. Everybody who comes in has been, again, go back to that happy customer. Everybody's been great, coming in and really supporting us. I think one of the things that we're going to do as we try to get through this phase 1 opening in the next week or so is start to create, one-way flows. And, again, when we're lucky enough that the barn's wide enough that we can maintain those 6-foot distances, and again, utilizing that outside space. I guess we're very fortunate that we have a lot of it, and people keeping that 6 feet in between. It should not be a problem. It really shouldn't be. We have the space, we have the opportunity to really be able to pull that off. I think going in the future, I think, like you said, I think the outdoor space is going to become so much more important to us. And Bruce and I have been really kind of, I'll say, brainstorming ways as to how to extend that nice weather season, so that the outside space can continue to be utilized outside, our traditional, June to September. We think that's, whether it's heat lamps. I've seen some really interesting people down south using igloos. Now, again, they're only looking at 40-degree days, where we tend to look at 2-degree days. But, just ways to, really take a shot at that space. I also think, too, our indoor tables will probably have to shorten up a little bit. Again, we love the community aspect that the tables brought. And I'm not sure under the new operating models, they're really going to work out. So we're going to have to take a look at our indoor furniture as well.
And I think it may end up being some of those things that we were forced into doing, Bob, like the takeout and the online ordering, we stick with, right? I think the online ordering has been terrific. I think the first order online came in within 5 minutes of Dave making the link active. It was unreal.
Wow.
And people have really been enjoying it. And we never thought we would do takeout. It was never part of our plan. Like, we're not a takeout place, but we're learning it's not that tough, right? And it may open up options for other customers in different circumstances. So who knows? But we were certainly forced into things that we never saw coming. And I think it made us a little bit smarter about the business and some potential options, right?
That's great. And I think those businesses that are going to survive are those that have figured that out, that are going to be able to make those pivots, to make those changes, and have the vision to see how potentially some of those things actually are assets. They're not necessarily bad things. I mean, I got to tell you, we've had those epiphanies at our winery, and I don't know that our winery is ever going to look like it did, exactly like it did 2 months ago. Again, we're gonna be doing things differently, and a lot of it's from what we've learned about this experience. So even when this is all said and done, I think there's some real assets that we'll take out of it. So
yeah, I think even some of the things we'll have to do in this outdoor only scenario with traffic flow and order flow and pickup and things, we may learn something from that just makes it easier for our customers in a normal state. Right. But I will say we realize we are unbelievably lucky to have as much space as we do and as much land as we do. Right. So we have enough space to put, I think we'll have 18 picnic tables out there, plus another, more seating for 24 in other chairs. So, and we know other folks downtown aren't as fortunate, and they've got other challenges. So we feel pretty lucky about that, and it's great for our customers as well.
So as long as Mother Nature cooperates, you'll be able to really essentially do full business.
Yeah. Well, we rented a tent because we saw that coming. We said, with our luck, it's going to rain for 2 months.
You didn't consult Mother Nature in your business plan either.
No, exactly.
Oh, we missed that too.
You can't think of everything. So let's see. So you've been doing this now for a year. You've had this place open for a year. You've been working toward this for a better part of your life in some way or another. Is it all good? Are you happy? Is this what you wanted?
Yeah, I think we are.
Without a doubt. Like I said, best job I've ever had.
Yep, great job. And, the response is, I think, better than we expected. I'm not sure we knew what to expect. I mean, we certainly had numbers and projections, just the enthusiasm of folks that come into the place. And, Bob, when you're really close to the business, you don't really understand what the customer experience is because you've been there for a year. But when customers comment on the place and the atmosphere and the service, the staff, and the environment, and they compliment you on one or all of those different things, you think, I guess we did do it, right? So when sometimes you get too close, you can't see the forest for the trees, right, as they say, and just once in a while you get some feedback that says, okay, I guess we did. And we neither one of us had background in this space, so a lot of times the decisions we were making just seemed to be common sense, and we were rolling the dice. But we're super happy that we've gotten to where we are. Feel a little bit of luck, but we'll take it. Yeah.
Good. So this may seem like a strange question, but I ask this of everybody. Have you figured out what you want to be when you grow up?
Not even close.
Yeah. I always wanted to be a fireman. Maybe I'll still do that.
Mine was an astronaut. That passed me by.
Well, there's plenty of time. Keep working at it.
That's right. All right. Can you drink beer in zero gravity? Huh.
I'm sure there's a way. NASA can figure that out. If they can't figure that out, what good are they?
Well, we speak. Not quite the same thing, but we speak when Bruce climbed Kilimanjaro. He took up one of the cans to the top, and I was joking on social media that I think actually we're the highest New Hampshire brewery can in New Hampshire.
Oh yeah.
No New Hampshire brewery's been that high.
That's great. Claim to fame. I hope
Exactly.
there's something touting that in the brewery someday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So that actually brings me to we're coming to a close here. We've talked a lot about beer and business and everything. So what do you guys when you're not brewing beer and running your business? What do you do for fun? And I think we already got a little hint of that for you, Bruce, with Kilimanjaro. So tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I guess the answer to the question more broadly is I like to spend a lot of time outdoors. So in the winter, I'm an avid snowboarder. If it's a good season, this season aside, I can spend up to 50 or 60 days on the slopes. So I get out there a lot. Warmer months, I'm an avid fly fisherman. Like to hike as well, canoe, kayak, that type of stuff. This is a bit off the outdoorsman track, but bought a motorcycle back in the fall. My first foray into motorcycling. Bit of a midlife crisis, maybe, I don't know, but it's a lot of fun, I got to tell you. So whenever it gets warm and it's sunny, I'm on that thing. So I'm looking outside now. It's in the mid 50s and it's killing me because I need another 10 degrees. And then the Kilimanjaro thing, the funny thing is, and I think this kills Dave, is he's the hiker. He's been hiking all his life. I'm sure he can give you all the stats of all the different elevations he's hiked in the U.S. and in Europe. I mean, he did a huge, trip to the Alps, and it was awesome. And I did Kilimanjaro, I guess it was February, which is a 19,000 foot peak. And I did it because a buddy of mine asked me, they needed a third for the trip. And I got a text, you want to climb Kilimanjaro? And it was something that I think everybody's heard of, but I really couldn't appreciate it. So I just said, yeah, sure. What's the date? I'll set it aside and go over there. And as it came closer and I started to research what it took and what happens at 19,000 feet, I was thinking, what did I get myself into? And of course, Dave's looking at me like, you bozo, you haven't even hiked, Bald Knob. You're gonna go up Kilimanjaro. So, but it was an adventure. Bob, like I said before the call, we should share a story sometime because it's a longer story. But the bottom line is, it was unlike anything I've ever done. So, opportunity, trip of a lifetime. You start on day one in 90 degrees rainforest, and by day 7, you're staying on the mountain every night. Day 7, you're summiting at 19,000 feet, and it's 15 degrees with a 50-mile-an-hour wind. So it's something like a negative 15 or 20 wind chill, something like that. So you start in shorts and a t-shirt, and by the time we get to the peak, you're in face masks, 5 layers, and you're climbing with a headlamp because you summit in the dark. So just crazy environmental extremes, beautiful scenery. It's like a different planet. I can't even describe it to folks. You should, go Google it and take a look at some of the pictures. Unreal. And it was very challenging. By the time we got to 15, 16, 17,000, it really wasn't bad, short of breath. 19,000 is a different world. And there were times where you're not sure you're going to make it. So, some people have asked me on a 0 to 10 how physically demanding it was. It was definitely for me, it was like a 9.8. But on the flip side of that, I made it. So if anybody's ever considering doing it, number 1, find me and I'll tell you all about it. Number 2, you can probably do it with the right amount of training. It's not a tough hike. It's not like you're using ropes and ice picks and crampons and such. It's like hiking a very steep mountain, fairly well-worn trails. It's just the altitude is crushing by the time you get to the top. But unreal trip. And I know Dave's just laughing like, are you kidding me? Of all people to try it. I didn't even train for it. So the question is, is he going to do it? So.
Well, it sounds like a trip of a lifetime. And I do know, I've been up to 14.5 and I know what that did to me in terms of altitude. So I can't even imagine what another 5,000 feet would do. So
yeah, well, you're well supported. I'm not too proud to admit there were 3 of us that paid for the trip. The support team for us was 16 people, 16. So wow. You have porters, you have guides, you have kitchen staff. You're well taken care of. There's medical support, etc. But it takes a lot to get up to get up that place. Right?
So you had help carrying that double IPA up to the top.
Hey, as a matter of fact, 2 of the guides saw me, putting it into my backpack along with, I had a big banner to get to the top. So on our Instagram and Facebook feed, you'll see the summit picture with me and a buddy, Paul, actually one of our investors, hanging the flag, and they saw me packing that and said, we'll carry that for you and we'll make sure you don't forget it, because when you get up there, you're so focused on just getting to that peak.
Plus a little loopy, right?
You're a little loopy. You're half out of it. You get to the peak, and then there are the guides, sure enough, jamming the can into my face. Don't forget to get the picture of you in the can, right? and the banner too. Here's your banner. Take the picture. And there's a lot. Yeah, it was crazy, but thank God they did that. Or I would have done the whole trip, and then Dave would have said, "Where's the picture of the banner?" Not even congratulations, but where's the banner picture?
Bob, that was my thing to him. Just as he was leaving for the trip, I said, "Listen, I don't care if you summit or not. In mountaineering, they have this thing. Going up is optional, coming down is mandatory. And really, what I said to him is, listen, you don't have to summit. I don't care if you summit. Don't summit if you can't. You can't do it. I said, but however, that can summit no matter what.
Yeah. I heard it differently. I heard it as that banner better get to the top, so don't blow it. On one hand, he's saying, don't get this. I got 2 little Daves. Don't get summit fever. And the other hand, the banner better make it to the top.
Yeah, right.
They can both be true.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways.
So how about you, Dave?
He's right. I'm the hiker. I've been hiking a lot. I'm on number 28 of the 4,000 footers here in New Hampshire. And I really enjoyed it. Didn't get many in last year. Because of work, but I've been slowly making my way through it, and like I said, I've summited Mount Rainier, and did the Tour de Mont Blanc a couple summers ago, where it was about 95 miles over about 9 days, just kind of walking around the Mont Blanc Massif. So I love hiking. Every time I get an opportunity, I get out there.
That's great. My wife and I went up the tram to Mont Blanc, not to the summit, but it was about 9,000 feet. It was absolutely stunning, amazing experience.
Yeah. Did you see the climbers? When you get there, you see the climbers. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, they're going down the knife's edge of the snow. I got all these pictures that I took of that. It's really fabulous. So.
It was crazy, wasn't it? Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was convenient having a hiker as a partner for my trip, because Dave knows his stuff. So I borrowed most of the stuff that I had was borrowed from Dave, right? So everything close, and he just said, take this, and I showed him the packing list, and he said, no, you're not going to need that, so. I mean, I probably couldn't have done it without him and his stuff. So it was awesome.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you guys also have been very fortunate to have found each other in this adventure. I know partnerships can be difficult, and we obviously have a successful partnership with our business, and it sounds to me like you do as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do. We have a great time. We're great friends, but it's interesting. Dave often jokes a lot. We don't argue enough. He's like, damn it, we agreed on this again, right? So we're always wondering, is it good to have a partner that you always agree with, or should you have a partner that you have some of that sort of not competitive tension, but differing opinions. So maybe you're learning from each other and you're filling in each other's holes, right? But so number one, we tend to agree on stuff, but I do think we have different skill sets, and we complement each other really well on our skill sets. So between the 2 of us, the overlap's really good, and we tend to get stuff done.
I think I would add, Bob, you probably did this with your partners too. We had long, honest conversations before we even, laid $1 down on, what did we want this to be? Where do we see this going? Even into our personal lives, like, what is this going to become as part of your personal life? Because I think one of the things that I found over the years is, talking to a lot of people who are partnerships, is if you have this divergent vision, even if it's a long-term divergent vision, you'll end up in a spot where, one wants to go right, one wants to go left, and how do you select that middle ground? So we did a lot. Again, it was typically over beer, but we did do a lot of talking about, where do we see this?
I absolutely agree. We did that too, and we do it to this day. I mean, we find we have to keep revisiting that question, because things evolve, things change, our lives change, our families' lives change, there's so much going on. So especially now, so we're constantly revisiting that, and I think that's a good, healthy relationship. And to solve your problem of always getting along, Ken and I very often are in that boat. We agree a lot on things. So throw a third partner in. You're guaranteed to get a new perspective. It's actually two is good, but Ken and I, we find when we agree, we always have Chuck to say, he can be our, wait guys, wait a minute. So you're all being all great and that's all going to be perfect, but let me just show you this idea. Or the other way around, Ken and I will be sort of debating concepts and be in disagreement, and Chuck can come in and say, well, I see both your ideas, but I think you ought to think about it this way. And so that's been helpful. Not that, I mean, I think it's fortunate to find one good partner. I am really blessed to have found two, but it's not easy. I know that a lot of partnerships don't work out so well. So congratulations to you on that.
Dave, yeah, thanks. And Dave makes a really good point about the vision. As I think about it, I think one of the reasons we may agree so much is we do have that common vision of what we want the place to be to the customer. So if you have that foundation, making the decisions are easy, even if it's something as detailed as signage or flow or ordering approach or delivery. If you know what you want the place to be, it forces you into hopefully a very consistent answer, right?
Right.
And so, I even forgot about some of those early conversations, but I think that's what does it, is we know exactly what we want this place to do and feel like, and so it prescribes the answer in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end. That we've been with each other now for about an hour. I want to just ask you: is there anything that we've left out? Any comments you want to make about the business or the future, or leave your customers with before we sign off?
I think I just want to come back and revisit. Bruce and I couldn't be happier with the what we've received from the community, both when things were pre-virus, as well as in this new phase of life. The local community has been nothing but welcoming, helping us get through the model, the operation in the early days. When we did fall down, they were so great at help lifting us up and saying, don't worry about it. Again, we couldn't thank Meredith, we couldn't thank the Lakes region anymore. It's been perfect. It really has been.
Yeah,
that's great.
Thank you. Customers and town alike, unreal so far. So, the feedback we get is really positive. So we hope they're loving as much as we are, and we can't wait for things to reopen and get back outside now that it's getting warm-ish.
That's great. I'll second that. You guys picked a great town. You really did. And I live here and I work here, and I think I agree with everything you said. It's a great place to be and live and work. So great. I'm going to I want to thank all of the folks who have joined us for this interview, and thanks for coming out. And I hope if you haven't already that you take the time to go visit Twin Barns when they get open. What's the date of your opening again?
We're going to May 20th. We'll be open for outside dining.
Great. So get out there on the 20th or soon thereafter. I know you'll see me there for sure at some point in the near future, and my partners as well. And I hope everybody please stay safe and be well. And we'll look forward to seeing you again in our breweries and in our wineries. So thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to be with me today.
Thanks, Bob. We can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. Yep.
You're welcome.
Right. Thanks to everybody.
Have a good evening.
All right. Take care.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for watching our video today. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments section below. If you would like to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button or visit our webpage to see a list of all upcoming events and watch previously recorded interviews and presentations. From all of us here at Hermit Woods, thank you for watching. Be well and stay safe.